Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BSV TV. I'm your host Satoshi, and on this show we'll be defending the one and only, truly genuine Bitcoin. The Bitcoin that Satoshi Nakamoto designed in his white paper as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system for the world. Let's get the disclaimers out of the way. So all the statements that you hear on this show are opinion and must only ever be taken as opinion. They are never to be taken as any form of advice, family, financial, sexual or otherwise. And on that note, let's sit back, relax, have some fun and enjoy the show. Get paid for your content in Bitcoin and set your own fee on Streamanity.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I wasn't asked why I'm convinced. Craig is Satoshi. I posted on Reddit. He signed in my presence using the private key from block number one, the very first mined Bitcoin block, on a computer that I'm convinced had not been tampered with, on software I'm convinced that had not been tampered with, a message of my choosing.
At InChain, we've just funded a number of universities doing, so far, a test up to 1 gigabyte because it validates what we've already done independently. We've tested up to 380 gigabyte blocks. We've tested 1 million transactions a second and transaction sizes up to 20 megabytes. Super complex scripts, basically ones that can run operating systems. That's all of global commerce times about 50. On top of that, we can have complex scripts. On top of that, we can scale each of those transactions 1,000 times, which effectively means about 1 billion transactions per second, which means we can then have all derivatives, all complex trades. That means high frequency trading. It means everything that happens globally.
Is the market that effectively BSV is going for, is that global e-commerce, which is currently valued at $29 trillion?
No, that's too small.
Buy and sell Bitcoin instantly at bsvgravity.com. And you can now book and pay for your winter holiday at skibsv.com. Alrighty people, let me just mute that. There we go. Oh, it looks like we are live at 5. Great stuff. 2 seconds, just had a sip of my coffee. Just gonna bring this up so we can see what it is we're doing. Here we go. That's gonna take my message to the top so I can refer back to it very quickly. Check it out. There we go. Looking good. We are off skis. Right, let me just check. Yeah, CPU is good. Frames per second looks good. We're in the green. Rock and roll. Right, for any newbies who are following this, had a few new people on Twitch, which has been pretty good, having seen my news bulletins or breaking news flash, because there's going to be lots of news to be covering in the next, next few weeks, few months. Like, oh my god, like the world is going to go absolutely insane. But for anybody who's wondering why we broadcast on Twitch, is because YouTube have already taken down 2 of my channels. Then they were preventing me from editing my shows, and they were deleting episodes, and I was like, you know what, this is absolutely insane. Considering my shows only gets like 50 views. They don't seem to mind any of these shitcoiners shilling their shitcoins, but when it comes to somebody speaking the truth about the genuine Bitcoin, oh, can't have that. But so here we are, doing our best. So we broadcast live on Twitch every day, live at 5. Just try and catch the live show if you can. I do want to give everybody the opportunity to tune in. Go to www.twitch.tv/SatoshiTV. The trailer gets posted onto YouTube, and then the full episode goes up onto Streamanity, where you can set your own fee according to how you judge the quality of your content. Right, peeps, let's just whiz through this quickly. Again, this is just for newbies. So the reason Bitcoin has started is because we need a commodity money. Because as Voltaire said in 1729, paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value at 0. And that's because people don't recognize the fact that it's the value of money that goes down. So people are under the impression that, house prices go up and gold might go up and gold might be a hedge and all this kind of crap. But really, in actual fact, gold doesn't move. Gold doesn't do anything. Houses don't move. They don't expand. They don't grow. Well, not unless you're building extensions. They can't move. So houses are the base. So what is it that, you know, appears to be the dynamic thing in the relationship that makes the price go up? Well, it's not the asset that's going up. It's the value of the money that is going down, because it's the money that's dynamic that's being printed. But the thing is, when you print money, because it has no fundamental value, in order to give it velocity within the economy, an interest rate has to be put on it. Now, if you put an interest rate on something, it means that somebody has to pay back more than they borrowed. So where are they going to get that from if it's not in the economy? Well, it just means the banks have to print more. And then they give that out interest, and then they print more, and they give that out interest, and then they print more, and then eventually what happens is there's so much money sloshing around in society, and all that happens is when you get an increased quantity of like a medium of exchange chasing the same number of goods and services in the economy, the cost of the goods and services just simply go up. So the more money is printed, the more costs go up. And as costs go up, it just means that businesses are fighting a never-ending battle of trying to cover more and more and more costs. And this is why businesses fail. This is why the economy collapses. Because eventually prices get so high that businesses just simply can't sustain themselves. Because there's only so far that you can push prices up before your customers are just like, look, I can't afford this, is ridiculous, because we're all being squeezed as well. And then there's only so far that you can cut costs. You know, before you have to like massively expand your business and take huge risks. And then when you're expanding, well, chances are your business is going to collapse anyway. But if you didn't expand your business and your business stayed as it was, then it is sure to collapse anyway. And it's all a fault with money. And this is one of the reasons why the US government insisted in 1933 that all persons were required to deliver on or before the 1st of May all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates. And if they didn't, to a Federal Reserve Bank or branch or agency, and the penalty for not doing that was a £10,000 fine back in 1933, or 10 years in prison, or both. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. This seems absolutely preposterous that a government would say, actually, you've got to give us that gold now. You'd be like, you what? Like, who says I've got to give you my gold? That's not the government that I voted for, But the governments are onto this now. They're now no longer right. We're just simply going to tell people what to do, because news spreads fast around the internet. People will soon uncover the con that's going on. When in actual fact, this is just simply one group of people saying, actually, give us your gold, Sonny Jim. We'll have that. It's absolutely insane. But back then, people were just like, oh, okay, then, well, everyone else is doing it. I'll just simply follow suit, and I'm doing my thing for, Queen and country, or republic, or whatever you want to call it. But, in the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher pushed interest rates up because interest rates was a way to stop people from borrowing, was to slow down the volume of money coming into the economy, to stop people from borrowing. But that was career and political suicide. So they're never going to do that anymore. They've got wise to it, which is why they need a good old excuse, to shut the economy down, to stop businesses from borrowing, to smash people's businesses that they've spent all their lives building up, and like what should come along? Oh, a virus. Great stuff. So, instead of focusing on the virus, what we're going to do is promote this economic reset. Excuse me, if this was a really bad, if this was a killer virus, should your efforts not be focused on that? Because people are being killed, rather than preaching about an economic utopian reset? Like, what the hell? You've just got to see through it. But I mean, this is why we need a commodity money, because we cannot have a central point of authority and control just simply printing money and handing it out. Because if they do that, they'll just simply print as much money as they can and feed it into their own pockets. And as we know, the way they do that at the moment is they print money and they pump it into closed markets, like the military. But then what happens when they pump it into the military? The military starts stockpiling weapons. And when that stockpile gets too big, there's nowhere to put them. There's nowhere to put all the weapons. And there's no excuse to give the army any more money. So they're just like, right, we need to get rid of all this shit. Right, which country can we go and bomb now? What shit can we cause? It's a never-ending cycle. It's absolutely horrendous. Whereas like now, if like let's say if the world actually ran on a commodity money, suddenly wars would cost money. They wouldn't be a money maker. They wouldn't be able to make money from shit. It's the same with like in the UK economy, with people just like, you know, popping out babies because they think that having a baby is like their free meal ticket from social services. You know, now if we're using a commodity money, if you're having a child, that child is going to cost you money. It's not going to put money in your pocket, you know, excess money that you can just simply spend on yourself. So you can just like sit at home watching TV, getting fat, doing nothing. You know, thinking that you've got money for nothing, as Dire Straits would sing about. So this is what's happened. You know, fiat currency has made society dumber and dumber and dumber, and we're seeing it now with shitcoiners. You know, and we're seeing it now in the current state of the market. You know, literally, these people, you try and explain something to them, they cannot understand it. They do not have the intellectual capacity because it is being diluted over time as people have had to use their brains less and less and less and less and less. Whereas now when we have a commodity money, people are actually going to have to start using their brains and be considerate towards their purchases because they're just like, hold on a minute, this thing has got value. That's what they're going to understand. So when they're using a medium of exchange that has a price at the time, they're just like, well, actually, this thing might be going up tomorrow. So that increase is the increase in the price is the value that you can see in it. So now when people are conducting business, they're just like, I understand now that price might have increased by tomorrow, and therefore that's the added value. And if I just wait a little bit, I'll have that value in my pocket. So do I really need this good or service right now? Let me think about that. Consideration. Whereas previously, like for the last, I don't know, however many 100 years, people just haven't ever had to think about it. Particularly not those people on benefits, but, you know, it's the government that looks after them because they're just like printing money. It doesn't cost them anything. They're just like, look, you know, you really need to kind of like, you know, do something really because like, yeah, we're trying to sort of like, you know, prevent this bubble. We're trying to kick the can down the road and just trying to hold this bubble off from popping on our watch. Because politicians are all about like, they've only got like a 4-year plan. They're just like, look, so long as it doesn't happen on my watch, that's all right. I mean, this is one of the reasons why they couldn't trust government to print money, because government have only got like a 4-year plan. They're just like, well, you know, we'll just, you know, print loads of money, give everybody all the money, they'll all be happy with us, and I've done my job. You know, it's somebody else's problem. You know, it's ridiculous. And money is the problem, because it's just printed. We need something that is divisible, and only a commodity could be divisible, like a commodity that's fixed in supply. That's why precious metals have been so good, you know, in history about a hedge of inflation. But they have a use case, even though the use case, you know, it doesn't represent the value that it had, because it increased in value as more and more people came in to use it for trade. So it increased in value as a medium of exchange, but it had a use case which initially gave it that value. And then when the supply became more and more restricted, obviously, you know, the price goes up. But it just means that the increased cost of that precious metal, when it goes into producing goods, is passed on to the consumer. So that's a bit annoying, you know. Whereas Bitcoin, the commodity this time is data sovereignty. Bitcoin is literally a commoditized data sovereignty in the form of a coin. It is just absolutely brilliant, because now we can use Bitcoin as a bridge to the blockchain. So do you want to upload all of your family photos and wedding videos to a corporate server who can just simply delete them on a whim? Or maybe on a hard drive that could get corrupted or something like that? Or do you want to upload them onto the blockchain, which is an immutable source of data, a universal source of truth, to which nobody can control and no one can delete, and no one can crack, hack, alter, or change? Well, actually, yes, I do, because I value that data. You know, and you can only do that with Bitcoin. And when you upload it, because it's an already distributed mining network with competing parties in the system that upload it onto the blockchain for you, it means that they have no control over it. You can share it with whoever you want, because people can't see the data. They can only see the transaction ID. You know, it's literally the entire world is going to run on this thing because it's money. You know, I mean, it's just a brilliant system. And this is what people, you know, shitcoiners don't get. And I'm probably going to, might do a show on mental health actually, because I know some people are, you know, getting a little bit stressed. But stress just comes through lack of understanding. So, going to try and explain a lot today. But let's just go back to our favourite pictures. Oh yes, indeed. So people are wondering what BSV is. Well, BSV is just Bitcoin. Because it hasn't changed. It's just simply the change of the ticker symbol. And the reason it changed is because on the 24th of August 2017, a company called Blockstream implemented SegWit, which broke the chain of signatures, which basically took Bitcoin under their control. And since it is now since it's now under their control, it has a fundamental value of absolute zero. And if you don't believe me that BTC is under the control of a company called Blockstream, have a listen to what their chief strategy officer Samson Mao said when he was in an interview with Simon Dickwit and Max Kaiser. Here we go. Check it out.
Bitcoin was created by the central bankers that enslave you today. It is their scapegoat.
How do you answer those, Max and Stacey?
I think the evidence is clear that they do not control it. There's 10 years, almost 11 years now of track record.
Yeah, Blockstream controls it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Who does?
Blockstream.
Oh, I think the evidence is clear that Blockstream controls it. And neither America or China will ever use a money that a central party has control over. Well done, Samson Mao. Thank you for revealing the truth there. I'm sure your paymasters aren't going to be too happy with you after that faux pas from you. But we knew that anyway. You know, he's just slipped up big time. Like, you know, basically exposed the fraud that's being committed there. And then another group of developers thought they would mess around with the signatures and try and take Bitcoin under their control after Blockstream took it under their control. So, oh, we'll just do it the same. This is what I mean about shitcoiners with shit for brains. Like, literally absolutely insane. So the reason it's important to have a chain of signatures and for it to be private and not anonymous is so that businesses have reasonable expectation in trade. Now, there's two things you need in reasonable expectation in trade. You need to send the value, and then you need to prove you've sent the value. So it's like I've said before, you can't just simply send fresh air and expect a good or service in exchange for it, because it doesn't hold the same value. So you have to send the value first, and then you have to be able to prove that you've sent the transaction. Otherwise, you have no legal recourse, which means you can just simply send your money over, and the supplier can just simply run off. And if you don't believe me that Roger Ver and his mates are a bunch of douchebags, listen to how happy Roger sounds when he's telling Crypto's News that Bcrash is anonymous. Here we go. Have a listen to this.
I have a question here from Satoshi, defender of Bitcoin. He said, if a cryptocurrency is anonymous, like BCH, I don't think BCH is anonymous, but maybe there is something.
Check out cashfusion.com and you combine that with reusable payment codes and you get Bitcoin Cash in the same sort of ballpark of privacy as Monero.
Thank you, Roger. I won't bother checking out Cashfusion because you've just admitted that Bcrash has got a fundamental value of zero. And if you wonder why I call Bcrash, it's because Roger calls it that as well. Have a listen.
Just go use your Visa card. And we're going to really spread Bitcoin Crash across the entire country here in Antigua.
Good luck with that, Roger. Because it's an absolute piece of shit. If something has a fundamental value of zero, it means that it only has a speculative price, which your piece of shit does. When knowledge catches up with speculation, the price will match its fundamental value at zero. You nincompoop. There we go. Should we have a listen to? Yeah, I know. Let's go on to the shitcoins just quickly. Like, I can't stress enough how important this chart is. Like, so having a word with someone today who's just feeling rather despondent about the price. And it's just like, well, actually, if you had a fundamental understanding of Bitcoin, you would understand the value that is going into it right now. Like literally, it took Satoshi Nakamoto 11 years to solve the paradox of the centralized starting points. All these shit coins here, they've been around for maybe like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. Absolute bullshit. Literally absolute bullshit. And all of them are centralized. Like literally, the only one that isn't centralized is Litecoin, and Charlie Lee exit scammed the shit out of it because he created it, because he had not solved the paradox of the centralized starting point. And because he knew it was a piece of shit, like, this is why he exit scammed. And listen to his own description of it when he was asked in an interview about it. Here we go.
You created Litecoin, right? So this has to be something like you're incredibly passionate about.
Yeah, as most of you probably know, I kind of created it just for fun, right? I didn't really expect it to become anything.
Thanks, Charlie, but I think most of us didn't know that because you never told us that to start with, did you? Because if you had told us that, nobody would have bought your piece of shit and you wouldn't have been able to exit scam. So what do you mean most of us really know? Like, none of us knew. You absolute snake in the grass. Huh. So anyway, that's Litecoin, which he just created as a joke and a bit of fun. But let's have a listen to Satoshi Nakamoto's expectations of his own creation. That is Bitcoin. Here we go.
At the end of the day, we own a lot of Bitcoin. The simple thing is, if we make the network scale, we make it bigger, my main compensation, more than anything anyone could ever pay me, is the price of Bitcoin goes up. So that's my pure drive. I want Bitcoin not to go up to 10,000 or 100,000. I want it to be worth millions per Bitcoin. That's it. And that's what we spend money for. Very simple.
That is it. That is what we spend money for. I mean, he's even saying that's what we spend money for because the crowd that he's talking to probably didn't even understand the word investment. That is why we invest in infrastructure, in scale, in speed, in reducing cost, in increasing value. That is what it's all about. Charlie Lee just going, oh, you know, miss, you really know, I just created just for fun, right? You know, so I wasn't really ever going to do anything to it. You know, shitcoiners. So if you're wondering what shitcoiners say, let's just remind ourselves, stay away from shitcoiners when they say,
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
There we go. Right, let's, let me see if see if there was anything else I sent myself. No, there wasn't. Right, let's check out these figures. So still some juicy data flowing through the chain earlier on today, which was really good to see. But look, our hash rate's back down to 0.2. We saw that yesterday. It was like 11%. Again, I mean, these are the figures that shitcoiners don't bother looking at because, like, you know, they literally can't even do 2 plus 2. It's so dumb. But hash rate 0.2%, network nodes 2.2, transactions 34%, and block size 42. Oh, winning on block size. But again, you know, for shitcoiners, it's all about number go up because they have no idea about the concept of value. In fact, they always get like price and value mixed up, you know. I mean, what needs to happen and what will happen when the utility comes on chain? Literally all of the hash rate and all of the network nodes and all of the transactions and the entire block size will flood into Bitcoin. Now, like all these shitcoiners who are getting upset about all these shitcoins, that, oh, you know, they've gone up in value. It's so what? They are an attack on Bitcoin, you know, and like somebody, you know, cleverly manipulates all these shitcoiners with shit for brains. It's not hard because they're that dumb. You know, the reason it's hard to actually explain Bitcoin to them is because it requires intellect to actually understand it. You know, like you need intelligence to be able to understand there is a paradox at the bottom of the proverbial rabbit hole. The paradox of the centralized starting point. And then after the paradox, you know, you need to understand that it took 11 years to solve, to give it a fundamental value, and then it's just like, right, we need to now add value, which comes from speed, cost, and scale. But you need to make sure that all the fundamentals are in place. The 5 pillars of decentralization, the chain of signatures, the locked protocol, the infinite scale, the competition, the fixed supply. I mean, even George Gelder, bless his heart, at the last CoinGeek conference in London, said to Craig, you know, why did you fix the supply and not the price? So even a renowned, publicist like him didn't even get it. How is the average Joe Bloggs meant to figure this out? Unless they listen to my show. Which not many people do, because it's too much for a lot of people. You know, obviously you guys who are listening to me are just like, you know what, that makes so much sense, I get this now. You know, but that's because you're intellectual. You know, you can understand what I'm saying. Like, if you didn't understand what I was saying, you'd be like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about. And you just like switch off and go away. But I mean, that's why I only get like 50 views. But that, you should be patting yourself on the back, because like, I'm not bothered about quantity. For me, it's quality. Like, you know, like 10 people with a fundamental understanding of a concept can do more than 1 million people who don't have a clue. Like, that's the whole point. That is what BSV is. You know, it's a bit like an extremely intelligent person, you know, designing a motor car. Like, you don't need that level of intelligence to drive it, and they know that. But you know, to make it, you need a huge amount of intelligence. When we're driving it, a steering wheel, you know, it's like 3 pedals at the most. You know, that's where we are. But in order to understand, you know, what is coming, as in like the price movement, you first of all have to appreciate the value that is being added. You know, the potential that this thing has got. You know, to look under the engine and understand the fundamentals of it. Whereas that's beyond all these shitcoiners. That's why they call it price discovery. Like, number go up, all these knuckle draggers are going to start coming in. You know, and then they're going to start with all their bullshit questions. But, you know, I mean, we're just going to have to be patient with them. You know, I mean, and people are going to come in at different levels. Like I said, first of all, you've got the intelligent people. Then you get the smart people who recognize the intelligent people because they're smart. You know, and then you get everyone else who sort of follow the smart people, because the smart people might not be as intelligent as the the academic intellectuals, but they're probably like socially more astute, and they'll have more respect socially because they're actually smart. Do you know what I mean? They don't do dumb, stupid things like invest in shitcoins. That's the bottom of it, really. We'll leave it there for today, so I hope you enjoyed the show, and as ever, be aware, take care, stay safe out there, joy giving. Same time tomorrow. Catch you later. Get your tweet etched on Twitch, forever on the Bitcoin blockchain. Do it today at www.jointwitch.com. BuyBSV.live, the best place to buy Bitcoin SV online. Get paid for your content in Bitcoin and watch the full episode on Streamanity for just 20 cents. Go to www.satoshi.tv. See the link in the description below. Bitcoin, one world, one chain.
Yeah, one vision.